Hello, this is Danny Gamble, and this is December 30th, Saturday. New Year's is on Sunday night, Monday. So, anyways, Happy New Year's to those coming up. Hope you had a good Christmas, and this is, I guess, my 2023 kind of a wind up because I've actually, as much as I annoy people, um, they apparently want me to put stuff out. It's funny because as I might have mentioned in the past, I don't have a following, so it's interesting that I get these things from over the fence. So somebody's forwarding my stuff and that. Not that I don't upload. I do upload it to YouTube, but maybe one day I keep saying I'm going to make an effort to try to figure out how to get a following, but um, I think it's just cathartic for me, just sort of like get stuff off my chest. And if that's as far as it goes, it's just me and my own little. This is a laptop, my own little laptop. That's fine too. So let's see what I sound like. Am I coming across? Yeah, I can hear myself. So at least I didn't waste all that. All right. So I do a lot of political stuff, as everyone, well, those that have listened to me know, and that makes me a boring guy. I get it, but I think relevant right now for the times, in my opinion. Actually, I should do a little bit about that too, because a few people keep saying, "Oh, you seem to be slanted one way or another," and so. As I've stated on some videos, but people haven't obviously watched many of my videos, is that I do talk a lot about American politics. I do talk somewhat about Canadian too, but I'll get into maybe somewhere today about why I seem to be focusing more on American. Um, they're our neighbor. I'm Canadian from Vancouver area near the airport, and as American goes is how the world goes. And I'm nervous about America right now because um, they're sketchy. They're sketchy to say the least. And as I've often said and will always say, I don't have skin in the game directly, but I'm like if you're in an apartment building, I'm like the neighbor upstairs who's got to put up with all the fighting and the yelling and the politics stuff down below, and it can directly affect me, can directly affect Canada, and does affect us constantly. And I'm also very worried because America's so polarized. The two parties have got very conservative and liberal, and neither shall the two meet has really come to pass. I guess with time and history and previous fights and previous problems, it's manifested into a really ugly situation where people literally hate each other's parties, and therefore their ears are turned off to any kind of truth from either side, and definitely no coming together for the better of the majority. So I'm a majority kind of guy. Like, I think everything in life is a percentages, and so even for myself, I might some days be on the side of an issue that it is the majority sees it that way, and it kind of makes me feel good. Okay, I'm in the 70-80% group, but there's 20-30 that disagree, and some days I might be in that 20-30 that disagrees on a subject. And some people say, well, what would you do in that situation? I say, well, to be honest, I still will express my opinions, but I would be respectful that I'm in the minority and accept that, as I want my majority when I'm in the, in the positive end of a conversation or a point of view. I would hope that people would, accept that after a while, that when I'm in the 80%, accept it. I need to, when I'm in the 20%, accept it too. It is that simple. It's like, okay, and then I can still keep putting my foot forward on why I think I was still in the right in the 20%. And maybe one day I get a win. It's like, woo, I got a win. turns out I was right. But to get down to over an issue hating someone is stupid. Like, I guess I gotta turn this down a little bit in my ear. See if that sounds a little better. A little bit loud for myself. How's that? Okay, that's better. Yeah, let's hear my own echo. Oh no, that's what you guys gotta listen to? That's crap. So yes, in the States, actually, I got a neighbor. I live in an apartment building. I got a neighbor just a few doors down, and he's very much strongly against. Right now, your liberals. He's very much a Trump type person, and he wants that kind of government up here, which we do actually have someone similar to that who's running, and he's getting quite popular, and he's in the Conservative Party. But here's where the ears turn off. I'm trying to have a conversation with him about it, or he's having a conversation with me about it, and he goes, "Oh, you're never Trump." Like he labels it, and I'm going, "No, I mean him personally, I don't care for, but his party, I don't mind. Like, they've had great leaders in the past, and I'm sure they'll have great leaders in the future. And I tend to vote for, and it's America, so I don't vote for them, but I mean, I tend to support the leaders because they tend to direct where the rest fall. So, and I've definitely, I didn't mind Reagan, and actually I think you can go back. I think the Kennedys were from the GOP, and obviously the Kennedys seemed like great people. Sad that a lot of them were assassinated, but they're great people. I think Lincoln was from the GOP. Like, who couldn't like Lincoln? So no, it's not true. Anyways, so when he reverted it to Canada, he goes, "Well, you must be a Trudeau supporter." And I said, "No." He said, "Well, who did you vote for last time?" I said, "I didn't vote Liberal." He goes, I said, "Well, I mean, you take me by my word or not, I didn't. I voted for a guy named Jagmeet Singh who was NDP." He goes, "Oh, well, so that's still kind of liberal leaning." And I'm going like, well, right now, yes, because I didn't like what I saw in the Conservatives. That said, I've actually voted Conservative when Harper was in power. A lot of people didn't like Harper because of personality, but I thought he was doing a good job of running the country. And there was this finance minister named Jim O'Flaherty who's passed away, and I thought Jim was wonderful. So I actually probably have voted more federally. I've probably voted more Conservative over the years than I have any other party, right? Liberals actually had a problem with because when Trudeau's dad was a Liberal, I was very young, and he left an impression of me that he didn't really care for BC. He left on a train. There's a famous picture where he's figuring us as he leaves. And it stuck with me as a young child. It was one of my first impressions. Now, I didn't hold it against this kid, but I was going to watch him for a term before I ever leaned towards voting for him. And then, unlike your country, unlike America, we have a three-party system. Well, actually it's four, but the Green Party doesn't have much support. Although I do like some of their ideas, to be honest. But here in our country, unfortunately, they've just got, I think they got one seat, maybe two, so they don't have much support, and so it's not a wasted vote, but in a way it is a wasted vote. I mean, it's good to still say that we want a Green Party, but anyways, so the NDP is kind of a greenish, but what I really liked about them is that they're the third party, and they control the number one party, whichever one it was, Liberal or Conservatives. For them to get stuff passed, they kind of need their votes on the floor. So they're always upping. So if we're going to give you this for medical or dental or whatever, they would up it a percentage of so it's even a better policy. And then otherwise they wouldn't give their support, so they would kind of it would force the ruling party, which has been Liberal for a few years now, but might turn out to be Conservative down the road. They would force them to say, "Listen to us, we're still looking after the people." You might say, "Well, why are they only looking after people when you're third party?" Of course, it's the people that are going to get you to move up to second and first party. So they do have an angle why they do what they do. I understand that, and so down the road, if they got into power, it might be me voting then for the Liberals as second party or Conservatives as second party or whatever. So I like a minority government where more policy is controlled by a multitude of thinkers and people that hopefully care for the majority of people, and therefore the majority of people get represented in the policies that get passed. And hopefully I didn't bore too many people on that one, but that's how I feel. Now, so with America, I'm very concerned because it's all about them versus us, and win at all costs. And the last election, we won't accept that we lost. That what do you guys call it? Peaceful transfer of power. That was a good thing to have, and that is something that I in this case, because it was Trump that wouldn't accept his loss, the GOP as a party is guilty of not saying, hey, what are you doing? No. I always go back to a similar situation that happened a few years back where, I witnessed down near Florida, your last state, that made the decision on Gore and Bush. And Bush's own brother was a part of Florida, and all the votes were stopped counting near the end because the votes that were, the late votes tend to be a lot of times the Democrats because they like to do the mail-ins. They don't like to stand in lines. And I don't blame him. I don't know why he can't do mail-in as long as it's legal and it's verified and checked. It's stupid that you guys are still fighting progression of electronics and modern technology. But anyways, just when it suits you. So they were able to have it go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court voted 5-4. So how close is that? It came down to one state. It came down to, I think, they call it chads. They came down to chads, like little, we can't really verify. Well, yes, it looks like they poked there. They didn't poke anywhere else on it, but we're not certain because they didn't totally take the whole thing out. They've just poked the hole through, showing where they voted. So it's like, oh, come on. It's like the way you draw your lines for individual states. The persons that get in power redo the maps so that they can rig the game. Like, you guys are spending way too much time allowing cheating instead of just trying to just two parties. And I guarantee you, your people are smart, because if you notice, what I've noticed over the years is when one, say, wins the presidency, then the other ones tend to in the next election for the states, and that they win the states, and vice versa. So your people are already balancing the balls. They're like, okay, well, they're in power here, we better make someone else in power here. So your voters are a lot more clever than you guys give them credit for. So when you rig your, I forget how you pronounce it, college, whatever those things are, that where you say, okay, well, we're going to draw the line so that we're going to put these guys all together as only one representative versus two that it normally would be, because they're not going to vote for us. And then we're going to, this thinned out group, we're going to give them two, and it's just like, really. And it just keeps happening. And I'll go back to say, I think either party can win without having to rig the game. I truly believe that, because humans want change. They don't want one party over controlling their lives, and they want to have the option of getting rid of some people and bringing in some fresh blood, and they'll do that through their voting. So I think you guys start giving more credit to your people. And in the past videos I've mentioned about having a third party, I think you should have a third party, just for the same reason, because I know it works so well here, where it's amazing how much that third party has power. It actually has more power than the second party, because they're often the ones that help the ones that are running the government at a time to get their policies through. So it becomes like a 1-3 versus 2, and but it's not a terrible thing, because we do switch. Like I say, for years it was Harper. I think NDP did get as high as second. There was a guy named Leahy that was really good. Unfortunately, he also passed away. weird. All these guys that are half decent seem to pass away. Might be a conspiracy theory there somewhere. But like Epstein. Oh, Epstein, yeah, he had the goods on everybody. Didn't want to be in jail. Made sure everybody knew he didn't want to be in jail, and then he just apparently hung himself, with suicide watch in effect and people watching him 24/7 to make sure that he didn't do that, but he still managed to do that. I think he had the goods on too many people, and I don't know if it was the CIA. CIA, don't come after me for this, but I don't know if it was CIA. But if you do, just remember, don't come after me, because I'm actually complimenting you here. You're able to pull this off because of all the other bullshit that's going on in your country. Nobody's really focused in on that, right? It's like the guy that had the goods on everyone, from like the Queen of England's brother, was it brother or son maybe, and obviously the Trumps and the Clintons and the like pretty much everybody. There were so many people that obviously went to that island and got up to dirty deeds. And dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Well, they weren't done dirt cheap then. Epstein made money off it. And his girlfriend, she just sort of dropped off the face of the earth. She was like setting him up, and obviously she must have turned over the goods. She must have told him where the safes were, the information on people and the books were, and because he obviously kept stuff too, or tapes, videos. He kept stuff to have get out of jail free cards, like Trump's trying to do right now. So she's surviving, although at some point you gotta wonder at the way these aggressive sicko people think. They might just think, it's just easier to get rid of her, in case anyone ever tracks her down, or she gets old and senile and decides she wants to come clean. So sadly, I think we're in here about a car accident or something coming up. Ooh, morbid, right? The real world. So right now, so it's 2023, and right now we got stinky bum Trump right now. Oh, you can't say that about our ex-president, soon to be president, might still be president. Yeah, I can, because his own son said it. A Barron. Dirty diapers. I mean, just the reason I went there. One, it's funny. Come on, it's funny. Sad, but funny. It also shows he's aging, right? There's this whole GOP focus on Biden being too old, and actually, again, you find it on your previous tape. I think Biden's done a lot of civil service for your country for years. He was your vice president for 8 years. He wasn't I was a senator, Congress, but he was in that as well for years. The guy's gone through tragedy. He's lost his wife. He's lost children. He's got another child that's got drug issues. I mean, the man's been through the ringers and still is trying to do the right thing for your country on a whole. Trying to cut your medical expenses, trying to bring back industry, trying to increase jobs, trying to cut the medical drugs, like the insulin. You're trying to do stuff that actually helps your people. And sadly, they don't know how to sell it or market it. I don't know why they don't, or maybe they don't on purpose, because maybe at the end of the day, they're still old white guys and they don't want to upset the other old white guys that are on the other party. There's a conspiracy thought. I got a few coming today, it looks like. So yes, I'd like to see him just enjoy his last few years. He's goddamn well earned it. And, now they're coming after him on some made up trumped up court case, trying to say that he's impeachable, just like Trump. They're trying to have same as bullshit. And Trump, come on, GOP, let what's her name, the lady that's running right now, let her go forward for your. I see some of the money guys are starting to back her. Just all of you guys get behind her, because at the end of the day, the sooner you cut Trump out of your situation, the sooner you will eventually have back the power that you're hoping to have at some point, and that your country needs. It needs to go back and forth. It needs to have more than one party. But he's not good for your party. He's just not. He's not good for the world. Like he will instantly side with the Putins and Kim Jong Un's and Xi, and there's a reason behind that. It's pretty clear that he's gotten a ton of money from Putin, but I think it's even deeper than that. When he had that hour-long privacy where the security guys weren't even allowed to walk back in there into a room with him and Putin, it was because they were talking about stuff that nobody but the two of them could hear. Plain and simple. There's only one reason you don't have your security people when you're in a foreign country with a guy like Putin who has killed people. like, and don't worry, I'm not being brutal to Russians right here because I mean the first Bush, the elder Bush, he was kind of a Putin guy too, right? He came from the CIA, I think CIA. I don't think it was FBI. I think it was CIA. So, I mean, he knew where the bodies lie too. So like, don't kid yourselves. And Biden's definitely been around for all kinds of stuff that's going on, whether it was through Obama. He was in the room, right, when they were, taking out somebody in some foreign country. And yeah, so what happens if you just swap? Well, there's so much that happens if you just swap sides. Your credibility is already low. It's very low. It's very low because actually I'm gonna come back. Hopefully I won't forget. I'll come back to this. I want to jump to your judge situation and your Supreme Court situation, both state and federally. Rule of law has always been a bit of a joke because it seems to be more for the little guy than the big guy. And you can see that in the amount of money it costs to continually fight something and move it and say, no, this didn't happen the way you're saying it's happened, the way you're charging me. The little guy goes, well, if I agree to this, can I get off? Well, if it's your first time, you pretty much get off of a slap and a fine. And second or third time, we will reduce it if you admit to it. And you get 2 or 3 months or whatever. And there's like 95% plea deal. 95% are plea deal. But if you're rich and you're in the 1%, well, then you're definitely in that 5% that doesn't plea deal because you just run it. You just go, well, then I'm going to, okay, so this went to this court, so then I'm going to take it to the next level court, and then from that level court, I'm going to take it to the next level court. From that level court, I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court, and I've bought off the Supreme Court, so I'm going to take all this time to get there, cost all this money and time, make everyone know that I've done it, or not done it, but most cases done it, but I'm still going to get off because I'm going to have my bought judges. And that's how everyone sees it in the world. I'm just a Canadian nobody in Vancouver area, and I'm looking at it and going, this game is totally rigged. It's no one above the law, because you say that because you want your masses to believe it, and then it's just bullshit. You're 3 years ago, you got that January 6th thing happening, and so many people have been arrested and are already serving their term. Some have already served them and they're out, and you got still the question of whether the leader even was involved, whether he can be charged. It's absolutely laughable, but it's not, because it's so sad, and it's going to cause the ultimate problem. And the ultimate problem is if you get to the point where someone like Trump can have 91 charges against him. He can be already convicted of fraud with his financial dealings in New York. He can already have been charged and lost with the diddling. Oh, he didn't screw her, he diddled her. No, rape is rape, and that was under the terminology. Finger banging is the same, but even if it's not, it's disgusting. This is your president. He's supposed to be like the honorable guy running your country that everyone looks up to and aspires to, and says our president's the best person on the planet, and he's been convicted of diddling someone, and then he goes out and insults her right afterwards. Now he's in court again, so maybe this time after he was 5 million, maybe this time it'll be 10 or 15 million, and then he'll maybe shut up. And then you got his the guy from New York, the mayor, ex-mayor, Giuliani. You got Giuliani. Anyways, I know you know what I'm talking about. You got this guy out there who, same thing, he gets nailed with $146 million lawsuit trying to destroy two women, just working women, counting votes. And like they've gone that low to try to push out their message. It's not fair. It's just regular folks. So they've ruined their lives. So they're gonna have this money now. He's claiming bankruptcy, but they know he has hidden money. They know he has properties, and he goes right out right after losing and starts mouthing off again. It's like the reason people of that stature keep doing that is because you're not enforcing the rule of law. You're allowing people to be threatened with their lives, their families to be disrupted, having to hire security companies while you're trying to get them to a court case where everyone else is just either brought to court or they plea deal out of it because they know they're guilty. And they actually all point to these, well, I was following what the president said. And now they're watching him just kind of like, at first say, oh, it had nothing to do with it, they went too far, to now saying, no, they did the right thing, they're good, and if I get back in charge, because he wants votes from this group of people, I get back in, I'll let them, I'll pardon them all, my get out of jail free card, I'll pardon them all. And even if I don't win, but someone like Haley, the woman I was talking about earlier, I couldn't remember her name, oh, she'll pardon me, or that vet Swami guy will pardon me, or oh. And by the way, we're talking over 3 years, going into the fourth year. They're not sure if they're going to get the court cases in time to let the people know if he's guilty or not, although everyone knows he's guilty. But whether he's going to be able to sweet walk it and have his bought off Supreme Court, the 6-3 votes that he's got and 3 that he put in there himself. Like it's, and even that's a joke because it's hard to remember his American politics, but Obama was supposed to get one that had passed away. That lady had been around forever. It was really good, and he was blocked by the Senate and by the guy that looks like a frog, whatever his name is. It'll come to me too, like Haley did. So they blocked him. You can't do it in the year of an election. Can't do it. And then of course they do it within, like, the votes are already being cast, and they do it for the lady they put in there. It's like, GOP to me is, to really, really simplify it, they're Lucy with the football. And Democrats are Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown just keeps wanting to believe that Lucy will see the light and hold the ball there so he can kick the field goal. And Lucy constantly says she will. She promises to. Yes, you're right. I didn't do it last time, but I will do it this time. And then she pulls the ball away. That is your two parties. You got one that are playing ping pong where, well, we hit the ball, now you hit the ball, now we'll hit the ball. And that's your Democrats. And then you got your GOP going, like that. This is like smash mouth football. We're just going to smash you in the mouth. And you're going to be like playing ping pong going, oh, why'd you do that? Okay, well, let's go back to ping pong. They're going to go, yeah, well, you didn't smash us back, so we'll smash you again. And yeah, so, and everyone said to me, oh, so what? You like the Democrats, or you feel more? I don't, actually. If you took away the politics and just had to meet some of these people and go for a beer, a tailgate party, a barbecue, I'd be way more with the GOP people. Like, the younger Bush was way more funner than the older Bush, but the older Bush is the one, if I was down there, I would have voted for. The younger one, I'm not sure if I would have. I don't think he was bright enough, but maybe I would have. Maybe one of the 2 terms I would have. But he would be the fun one to party with, socialize with. Hillary, she would have been probably a decent president, but I'm the last person in the world I would want to be stuck to her having, tea or a drink with. she wouldn't have suited me. Obama maybe, because he's witty, just like I think Clinton is a good speaker, so that's interesting to me. Not Nixon, although I would have probably been interested in meeting him and chatting with him, but not probably hanging with him, because I've been constantly checking for my wallet. What do you call it? The one that got shot. It was in the movies too. How could I? Reagan. Reagan. I would have loved to have met Reagan and hung out with Reagan. You know, not his wife, but him. Yes, it would have been fun. So, in retrospect, what I'm saying here is that there's people good. Well, it's Donald Trump statement. There's people good on both sides, but right now, currently, the GOP is not doing what they should do for their country and for the world. Like, they've got a war going on. Well, they don't. Ukraine and Russia does, but they have a war that they're supporting financially and with armaments. That is the best thing for the average American, and the poor Americans. A lot of poor Americans go into the Army, Navy, Air Force because they're poor, and that gives them a chance to get an education and a good paid, good wage, and future careers when they retire from it. It allows the average to low income person to have a chance to get a step above. And right now, this is the perfect scenario for the country because they're actually using their soldiers at this present time. They're able to just send the arms. Ukraine's just saying, just send us the support and we'll do the fighting. And God knows, this was supposed to be over in a few days to a couple weeks. And we're hitting 2 years. And, like half the original army size of Russia has been wiped out. And I feel bad for them. I feel bad for their mothers. And I don't like death on any side. They did do the invading, though, so the other guys do have a right to defend their country. But this couldn't be a better situation for Americans. They're actually not having to invest in body bags, right? And yet, because probably Trump got money from Russia, and I don't think he just got money. I'll go back to that, that hour private talk. It's just like, you ever if there's someone pull up the old tape of when he won the election, the first time around when he won, you watch that family walk out on the stage. Just replay it a few times, like show it back and forth. There was almost no smiling, no happiness, no excitement, a couple little attempted smirks and smiles, but they were all forced. You could see it, they were really forced. And what went through my head right away is like, well, he didn't mean to win, he didn't want to win. And I actually think he was doing stuff not to win. I'm not saying that once he was in there, he wasn't happy he was in there, but I'm saying at the time, it was like, oh shit, I've won, now I'm going to have to do the job. He didn't want the job. I think Putin was giving him a lot of the money so that he would try to get the job, and then Putin would have control over the president of the United States. Pretty much what I think. That's my opinion. That's my belief. And when he had an hour with him after he was over there, and they had an hour, he walked out looking sheepish again, and Putin walked out like he just gotten this, I'm going to say it, Putin walked out like he looked like he'd just gotten a blowjob. I think he looked like he got Trump on his knees one way or another. And basically, he had control of the president and knew it and came out all smirky and smiles. Look at me, I got control of the U.S. president, therefore I have control of the USA. Now, checks and balances, he didn't at that time, but right now it's going the other way, where if Trump gets back in, he already knows he has to get rid of checks and balances, because people did say, no, this is a bridge too far, what are you doing? Now, what does Putin have over him? Money, for sure. I think he does. I think his wife is controlled by Russia too. She's always happy and smirky and giddyish when she's around Putin. And she's always slapping the hand of Trump. I think she's a plant, and I think that's why they keep renewing their prenuptials and stuff. They keep readjusting the contracts. Okay, so money, yes, he owes him a bunch of money, but what also does he owe him? Well, if he wants to live, or he wants his family, his daughter, his kids to live, Putin will take him out. And I'm sure Putin said to him, you keep doing what you need to do for me, or else, or else. And that's why I think he walked out looking so sheepish, and Putin walked out looking so proud. He's compromised. He's compromised financially, but I also think he's compromised by the fact that he knows that Putin won't bat an eye to take him out and take his family out. So that's America. You got a problem. There's a reason you have your rules about foreign influence, and they're good rules. And you all know that he's been compromised, big time compromised, not a little time, big time compromised by one of the biggest compromisers in the whole planet. There's not much more aggressive. Was it Putin that sent that stuff on the doorknob in England where he tried to take out a previous spy or whatever he was and his daughter? They just touched the door handle and they were sick as can be. And then the guy they got in jail that they keep moving around, that he poisoned on the plane, Valenelvi or something. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name well. But it seems like a decent guy, but he doesn't have a chance, right? The guy he shot on the bridge right outside his, and then the guy the chef that in this war who was fighting for him, with the Wagner Group and running the Wagner Group, and turned against him for a minute because he was starting to use his men as cannon fodder, as well as all the people from jail and all the people from like what would be to us First Nations. They got all these people that are living in far off Siberia and stuff, that are living in little villages, and they basically just been raiding them of all their youth and throwing them on the front lines. And for those who don't understand cannon fodder, basically the terminology came about because basically they're sent to the front line, and they're sent across a field running or something. Maybe they got a gun or two between them. It's that bad. And the idea is that when the enemy starts shooting them, they can pinpoint where they're shooting from, and they can take out their bigger guns and their machine guns and their tanks and stuff like that. So they call them cannon fodder, right? They're just supposed to be. They're just giving their lives for someone behind them to have a better knowledge of where to shoot to take out the enemy. And so many of them, and they so it's the Siberia guys, but also you can add to that all the people from jails and stuff. Like what a perfect freebie there, right? And that's what Wagner tried to do, is he tried to say, well, X amount of months, and you'll get paid, and X amount of months, and then your sentence will be nullified. But what was happening is they weren't paying him, and they weren't letting them off after the X amount of months, and they were cannon fodder. They were getting all killed, so the word got out, and people in the prison said, "No, I'd rather serve my term in the gulag than go to the front line, just give up my life, or parts of my body, like parts blown off and stuff." And Putin's probably going, "Oh well, I'm saving on cost of prisoners, right? He's getting rid of all his prisoners." It's kind of morbid of me, I know, very morbid, but not necessarily wrong either. Like if you had 1 million people in jails that you sent to the front line as cannon fodder, that's 1 million people you're not feeding, clothing, and having guards guard. So yeah, it's a pretty sick world at the top. So Ukraine and Israel, and by the way, Israel has lots of money. So this thing about why are we giving? America's willing to give, GOP is willing to give money to Israel because there's a lot of money and ties and behind the scenes stuff with the Israelis that there wasn't with the Ukrainians, and Trump doesn't mind the Israelis as much as he minds the Ukrainians because they didn't go after Biden when he tried to have his perfect phone call and tried to bribe him with $400 million. Yeah, I got lots of facts swimming around in my head, but there's been a lot going on in the States. So I think it was $400 million or something that he was going to withhold to get him to construct something on the Biden, so they had a tit for tat thing again. Like the guy is he scrambles and he goes for it, and he's a Lucy. So you got to stop being Charlie Brown Democrats. You got to start, and you have some of you. Some of you are doing really well at fighting back, but the more the merrier. Like, you all should need to be standing up and saying something. There's a lot of quiet people out there. A lot of the damage against him has actually come from other GOPers. So it's because it's been a bridge too far for them. They actually love their country over Trump. They have a hard time admitting it publicly. They do it privately, but and every time they do it publicly, they lose their position, their jobs, their careers, which is really sad because there's still hopefully more middle GOPers, more people that are for the people than just the bought off ones or the intimidated ones or the MAGA ones that are. MAGA's got a lot of chaos, right? Ultimate chaos. Like, they just want chaos, and not defending them on chaos, because chaos is just unfair to so many people. But there is a thing about how, because so many people with wealthy money want to keep their wealthy money and cut their taxes and charge other people to make up for their fact they're not paying their share and all that, to help with roads and highways and bridges and food and all that stuff, fuel. They can get away with chaos because a lot of people are like, who the hell cares? Our lives aren't great. We went from being able to have a middle class in America and have homes just like in Canada, and now all the kids in that are having huge debts coming out of school, and they're looking at millions of dollars to have a house, and so like they're just like throwing their hands up, and the greedy people are like, oh well, just put more of them in a house, basically, right? It's 2 or 3 or 4 families can live together till they're, when the grandpa's passing away, then hopefully their children, will be like in their 60s or 70s. Well, they'll inherit the house, and then the kids can line up to inherit that house. Or maybe by then there's enough money pooled between all the families and members in the house that maybe we can then buy a second house or a third house. Like, it's bullshit. It really is. It's it's not because it should have gone that way. It's because it was orchestrated to go that way. It was orchestrated where the money kept getting squeezed out, and then had to be made up somewhere. Actually, to me, I always do that. Greed is a disease, so I'll do it now. Greed is a disease. To me, it is, and it's one of the worst things that's happened on the planet. Is that a few people can hoard so much of their wealth and therefore orchestrate and buy off those that they need to, like the judges. I was getting around to the judges earlier. You got courts and judges where, I don't know how many times I'm listening right now, and on the news it'll be going, well, this is gonna go to the courts, and then there's all these delays, and maybe they'll delay right to where it won't matter, because if Trump gets back in power, you'll either you'll cancel all these courts, or you'll put in people that are cancel it for him, or he'll pardon himself, or you'll have others pardon him, like his vice president, whoever he appoints, and all this will go away, and then so we'll just delay it, right? And that's because we have our people that are the judges and Supreme Court judges and stuff like that. And every time I'm hearing about a court case, it's like, well, actually that was appointed by Obama, that was appointed by Bush, that was appointed by Clinton, that was appointed by, like, it's the other Bush. It's always like that. Or Trump appointed so many, like he just went for it because he realized, I can get the wins even though I don't deserve it on the percentage of what's fairest to the people of the country. I can rig it. I can just have it. So then I'm listening to Americans go on to the rest of the world about values of democracy and rule of law. But their rule of law depends on who the judge is hearing the case. And even then it can be, pushed to a higher court. And then if that's still not the answer they want to hear, the people pushing it, they'll push it to another higher court, and so on and so forth, which costs tons of money, which means you have to have the money to do that. Meanwhile, the little lowlifes like myself would have to just take the first deal offered to us. just because we can't afford not to, right? We have to work. We can't afford to pay the lawyers and take the time out to do it. So the rule of law country, their democracy, right now, hopefully it'll change, but right now it's a fallacy. It's not. No one's above the law. That's bullshit. It's if you have money, it's been structured so that with your money, spend the money and you'll get off. You'll just run the course. You'll get it. You'll get the right bought off judge that will support you, even though the policy is wrong. And then someone will say, "Oh, come on, you give us an example. Give us an example." All right. So what's the one with the abortion, right? Lou Dobbs. That was Lou Dobbs. Actually, that's an announcer. Maybe it is the Dobbs decision thing. Anyways, it's to do with a precedent setting. These all three judges that were being screened with questions all said that they wouldn't go back on laws that had already been in place and settled laws and had been going on for 20, 30 years, like this particular one to do with abortions, a woman's right to choose. And didn't matter. Once they were in power, they had the votes, and they changed it. And then Trump bragged about it, although, and even now he is for his to represent his party going into the next as the president. So he's still using that line of speech. But we all know he's already said it. He's already orchestrated it. That the minute he gets into the big, gets where he has to go against the Democrats, he'll change his view on this. He'll soften it. He'll say, "Oh yeah, I still think it was right that we put them in there, but maybe we need to lessen, how we see it. Maybe we should need to give him a few more weeks." So he's going to try to nullify that. He's going to try to be from being the guy that made it happen to being the guy that, we'll just, we'll find a communal kind of agreement on this one. And people that support him will go, okay. 47 minutes in. Keep this up. I'll be into the new year. Hang on a sec. So again, I'm a bit of a GOPer in some ways. I'm a bit of a redneck, but I'm a redneck that believes in our country, Canada, and the American country, the fair American country that believes in democracy, which is still more than half the people, but it's starting to get sketchy. I want to see middle class. Middle class is what the whole world needs. If we have a middle class, we have people having homes and having good jobs, supporting those that are hurting below them, because a lot of the wealthy people don't do it. They just don't. The trickle down's been proven to never work. But people that have someone living outside their house that's not doing well, you got to walk by them every day. They're the ones that will find clothes and food and shelter for people. They're the real people that will help. But if they're too poor to do it themselves and they're close to being on the streets themselves, then of course they can't do it. And therefore the society starts to crumble, because there's people in need and there's people that can't really help them because they're close to being in need too. And then you got a few people that are just squeezing them both those groups and saying, nah, we don't want a middle class. We don't want unions. We don't want fair wages. We don't want you to have your own individual homes or even apartments. No. We want you to pay for everything, so we don't have to, and we'll just keep creaming the crop right off the top. And I'll jump here a little bit. At the end of the day, guys, you wealthy 1%ers, it's short-sighted, because historically it's always eventually when the sheep rise. From a previous video I talked about, when the sheep rise, they do rise, and eventually when they rise, there is no forgiveness. So you can't then try to talk your way out of it. It'll be too late. It'll be too late for you. Sadly, probably too late for your family, because they'll have all been benefiting. Your pretty toys will go away really fast. Your pretty bank accounts go away really fast, and more than likely you won't be around much longer, because that's how it ends up going. People can only get pushed so far, and it seems like humans can absorb a lot, But at some point, they just say, no, I'd rather not live than live this kind of a life. And if you have a whole planet, I mean, we've got a thing in Japan where all the kids just don't want to work, but it's just because they don't see a future. And having a good life and a future is what makes the whole planet livable and enjoyable for the masses. And there's still going to be bad, and there's still going to be good, but the masses, if the masses are happy and getting by, in a comfortable, happy-ish way, then the planet is better. Everyone's better. Like 2024, I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen. I see a lot of Americans trying to stand up and do the right thing, but again, I go back to Lucy and Charlie Brown. I think the Charlie Browners have got to more than wake up. Like it's already structured too slow. Come on now, it's like we're up to the next election, and they're actually using that as the reason for not having the court cases now because it's taken so long to get there. Why the hell you didn't just step on the gas right? Oh, we didn't really want to cause a commotion, and now you're like, oh shit, now we got to deal with the fact that we didn't cause the commotion and get it over with and dealt with, and now we're not allowed to deal with it because we're going into the next election. And then you have the midterm elections, so you have elections like every 2 years, so there's always an excuse. There's always the reason to not have the right Supreme Court judge come in because someone says it's too close to election, and then that same group say, oh well, it's around the corner. Actually, we started voting, but we want one now because you guys are so dumb and naive and capitulate, and you're so Charlie Brownish that you just keep thinking that things are going to work out when you're up against a smash mouth football player versus the ping pong you want to play. So, and that ping pong can be badminton, it can be tennis, doesn't matter. There's a difference between that and football. You put a 300-pound, linebacker coming down on you hard, and you're trying to swat a badminton racket at him. Good luck. Good luck. All right, I've had some fun with this. It's 52 minutes in. Ooh. I hope this all recorded well. Otherwise, you probably never see it because I probably won't do it again. And I still have to upload and everything. So we got lots of ways for me to still muck it up. All right. Take care. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you have a great 2024. I hope the world wars settle and people get back to just, trying to get along. Take care. Bye.